Hello and welcome you guys. This is Richard Skeletor, and in today's video we're going to be talking about Neville Goddard, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Now, the reason we're going to talk about this is actually a lecture that he did. We're going to take a little bit of an excerpt from it, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to critique it, and we're going to show you how you can do the wish fulfilled in your life to get the results you're looking for. So let us begin right now by starting the video. Let me just move my clicker and my mouse down. Let me adjust this. Okay, so we're going to start the video right now. We're going to listen to it and see how it goes.
I'm telling you that if you dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, knowing who is doing it, it's God doing it. For God is your own wonderful human imagination, and He is doing it. If you dare to assume it and you walk in the assumption that it is so, ignoring the senses, ignoring the facts of life that deny it.
So as we can just see, walking in the assumption that it is fulfilled. Now later on in the video, I'm going to go over a key way on how to walk in that assumption that it is filled. I'm going to show you a technique, and then later on I'm going to give you a link to another video of mine, so stay tuned to another video that's going to go into more detail on how to master that state of the wish fulfilled so you can walk in that state. Alright guys, let's go back to the video.
In a way you do not know, it will become a reality in your world. So these are the realities out of which we fashion our world. Take a man who is drafted. I was drafted in 1942 at the age of 38. Not quite 38, but going on 38. Like millions of us, I dare say they all felt as I did, but they didn't know this principle. I knew I didn't want any part of it. Nevertheless, I was drafted. I didn't resist it. They sent me off to Camp Polk, Louisiana. And after 3 months in boot training, I decided I would do something about it by applying this principle. I asked, first of all, for an honorable discharge, because there was a regulation that came down from Washington that if a man was over 38 before March the 1st of 1943, he was eligible. It didn't say it was automatic. If his commanding officer felt that he needed him in his company, that decision was final with the commanding officer. You could not appeal it to any higher position. You couldn't take it to the general. So whatever your commanding officer was, and he was a colonel, if he decided he needed you in his battalion, you remained. Well, I applied based upon the fact that I was eligible, for I was 38 before March the 1st of 1943. And it came back to me disapproved and signed by my commanding officer. All right, that seems final, but there is nothing final in this world if you know who God is. If you know that your own wonderful human imagination is God, you do not accept anything on the outside that is in conflict with your wonderful desire. So I desired to be honorably discharged out of the army and doing the work I'm doing now, for I did it before. I want to return to that work. So that night, here was the paper that I received that day, disapproved and signed Colonel Theodore Bilbo Jr. His father was Senator Bilbo of Mississippi.
Alright guys, so this is what we just discovered in this. We just discovered that Neville Goddard believed that his imagination was God. He believed it so much that he didn't care that his commanding officer that said that there's no way that this could happen, you cannot get discharged from the army. So he first had that belief going into the army. He believed that his imagination was God and he can change anything. So you have to have that type of confidence about your imagination. That just not just goes for imagination. That also goes for the fact of your affirmation that that's God, that you have that power. You have to believe in that power. You have to have confidence in that power. So that's the first key to this. If we listen to this, that's the first key. So let's continue.
As I retired in my barracks with all these men around me, I assumed I was in my own apartment in New York City. I knew it well. I left a wife and a little girl only a few months old when I was drafted. My son volunteered, and he was with the Marines in Guadalcanal. And they picked me up, and I was drafted, and my little girl was born the end of June of that year, so she was only a few months. And I had a wife and a little girl, and so I imagine I am home. My wife is in that bed, I'm in this bed, and my little girl is over there in the crib. And then I simply assume I am walking through the apartment. It was a nice 7-room apartment. And I walked from room to room and touched the objects, and they all seemed so familiar. And I looked through the window and I saw Washington Square. And I looked to my right and I saw 6th Avenue. And then, having gone all through the place, I simply returned to my bed and settled in it, all in my imagination. But I gave it the tones of reality. I gave it sensory vividness. I made it so real that it seemed to me I'm actually in my apartment in New York City.
All right, guys, as we could see, he just was in his apartment in New York City, how he visualized it. So I'm going to go over this. He used 3 sense sensations, 3 sense feeling sensation. First, he was in his apartment walking. He touched a couple objects. He went outside the window and he saw, 6th Street, whatever street he saw, and he saw it down there through his window. And the last thing he did is he felt his bed, going to sleep in that bed. He did that over and over again. So how he did this is he repeated that loop scene with those sense feelings. Remember, it's the sense feelings that made that manifestation possible. I'm going to say it again. The sense feelings. What are sense feelings? Sense feelings are something that you feel in the imagination. He had about 3 or 4 of them going into different scenes inside of his apartment, and he felt that he was there. He felt the object of how it felt. Let's say he touched a vase, it felt smooth. Let's say when he went in his covers, he felt the blanket. What if it was a silk blanket or a rough blanket? He felt that. These are feeling sensations. When he looked out the window, he saw something. It was a feeling sensation. Maybe it was a bright light that shined back in his eyes. It was a feeling sensation. So remember, when doing your visualizations, it's very important to get in touch with those feeling sensations. Think about your visualizations. Is your visualizations, do they have that feeling touch? Do they have that essence of that actual feeling? Do it. Try it now, guys. Try when you visualize to get into the feeling of it. That feeling, is it audio? Is it something that I touch? Is it something that I see? Is it something that I hear, that I feel that expression back from the other person, something that I say to them? So think about that when doing your visualizations. All right, let's continue.
But I made quite sure I was not there on furlough. I was there because I was honorably discharged. No furlough, not going back. Well, 4 o'clock in the morning, before my eyes came a sheet of paper. It looked like the sheet that I got from the colonel, where it was disapproved. And as I looked at it, a hand came out from here to the hand, and it held a pen. And it scratched out the word disapproved, and it wrote boldly in script, approved. And then the voice said to me, that which I have done, do nothing. I woke, and all the boys had sung to sleep. I remained because I couldn't break their sleep. I remained until that very moment when I could go down and shave and clean before anyone else did, which I did. And this thing is permeating my entire brain, what happened to me that night. For 9 days, I did nothing. On the 9th day, the same colonel called me in. And after a long chat with me, He said, go back to your commanding officer, captain, and tell him to sign another application. And so I went back. I had done nothing in the interval. And he signed another application. I went back to the colonel, and the colonel approved it. And that very day, I was on a train from Camp Polk, Louisiana, to New York City, honorably discharged. To this day, none of them knew or know what I did. I did it all in my imagination. I believed that what I did was fact.
So the key takeaway from this, he believed what he did was fact. He didn't take any action. Remember, he didn't take any action. He let the universe, God, all there is, source, whatever you want to call it, the field, take care of it for him. Because he believed that he was in his apartment with the honorably discharged from the army, and he did that with the sense of feelings, and he did it for 9 days, and it showed up. He didn't know how it would, but he believed it. All right, let's continue.
I believe that my imaginal act creates facts.
Key word here again, imaginal acts create facts. Imaginal acts create facts. So always think about that. My imaginal acts create my facts.
And therefore, I actually lived in my apartment, and I was not any longer a soldier. I was a civilian, but I was honorably discharged from the army, not dishonorably. And in 9 days, it was fulfilled. I can multiply that story by hundreds if one will actually do it, for we are the operant power. Instead of doing strange things and getting in wrong with the government and fighting for your objectives, you don't fight at all. The voice said to me, that which I have done, do nothing. Well, where was that voice? Within me. That very voice that I heard coming from without was whispering from within me.
So he had this voice. He had like clear audio. Clear audio, sometimes you hear things. Some people call that inspired action. Inspired action is the same thing Neville Goddard had. He had a voice that said, do nothing. Okay? Some people have, like, let's say you're trying to win the lottery. I should go buy a ticket there. You get this voice, this feeling to go do it. And that's inspired action. So he did his visualization and got this inspired action to do nothing, and it showed up. He could have got inspired action to go talk to somebody maybe above his commanding officer. Who knows? But he didn't get that action. He got something, just leave it alone and see what happens. All right, let's continue.
The voice that said to Moses, I am. That is who I am. And he heard us coming from without what is being whispered from within. For are we not told in Scripture that we are the temple of the living God, and the Spirit of God dwells in us? And God is Spirit. Well, if the Spirit of God dwells in us, then how could I hear it from another? He is coming from within myself. And so I heard it. But I could not get any passage. I did the same thing when I seemingly was locked in an island for months to come because there was no ships coming. I did the same thing. I remember what I did in the army to get out. I did it when I was in an island and could not get out. And then a long, long list waiting, and they called me and gave me passage for my wife and my little girl and myself. And yet there were thousands waiting all through the Indies to get out, and only 2 little ships servicing the entire group of islands. And I simply got out. It doesn't matter how. I did it normally. I didn't kill anyone. I didn't bribe anyone. I didn't pull any strings. I simply applied this principle. If I actually got passage, would I sail? Yes. Well, then I assumed that I'm on a ship. And looking back nostalgically at the little island, leaving behind me my friends and my relatives, and taking with me my wife and my daughter. And I look back, and it seemed so normal and so natural. I gave it tones of reality. I could feel the salt of the sea on the rail as I held the rail of the ship. I could smell the rawness of the ocean, and I could see the island.
All right, right there. So he did another sense feelings. He had four of them. He smelt the sea, felt the ocean. Felt the rail, saw the ocean. So he saw all these things and felt all these things with these sense feelings when visualizing. Remember that he had three or four of them. I think four of them there. So remember, when you're visual and your visual scenes, you got to have these feeling sensation. How that rail feel? How did that rail feel to him? Did it feel cold? Did it feel rough? Did it feel rusty? What did that feel? How did he smell the sea air? How did he see? Did he see through some fog? So those are our sense feelings. Sense feelings in your visualization. Very important here. All right, let's continue.
And then, within a matter of 24 hours after I did it, I got a call from the Alcor Steamship Company to come on down and see them. I went down, and they said, "We have a passage for you. There are only two beds, but the little girl can sleep with her mother, and you can sleep up." And so there were two bunks. And it's a lovely ship, small, only carrying 60-odd passengers, but I sailed and came back on time as I was committed to go to Milwaukee the 1st of May. And I got there in time. So I ask everyone to believe in God. But God is not something on the outside of you. God is your own wonderful human imagination. If you have any other God, you have a false God.
So the only God is your human imagination. You have to believe that with confidence. You have to say, I'm confident that this is going to work for me. I'm confident that I'm going to get what I want. You have to be so confident in that that is the only reality. So that's how you have to believe when you visualize. You have to believe in that confidence. Now, a way to grow your confidence is to start trying to visualize something that you believe, something small. It could be a cup of coffee, and build your confidence about your visualization. That's one way to do it. Okay? I'm going to give you a couple other techniques how to live in the wish fulfilled after this. So let's continue.
Therefore, do not feed him anything but loving thoughts. Nothing but loving thoughts. Always exercise your imagination lovingly on behalf of everyone in this world. It doesn't cost you anything, and it doesn't hurt anyone. And you will find yourself becoming the man that you want to be, the lady that you want to be. And you'll move from stage to stage to stage without hurting anyone and fulfilling all of your dreams. Then you'll know how true the statement is. That all things are possible to him who believes. Because with God, all things are possible. And you'll find God. You'll find him in yourself as your own wonderful human imagination. That is God. As stated so clearly in Scripture. He's called in Scripture the potter. And the word potter means imagination. So I go down to the potter's house to see how he does it. And he was working at his instrument. And there he was at a wheel making something out of clay. But what he had, the vessel he had in his hand, was spoiled. And he reworked it into another vessel, as it seemed good to him to do. He didn't destroy it. He didn't discard it. He reworked it into another vessel. So you don't discard anyone. You rework him. See him as you would like to be seen by the world. See him in a more noble light. So you rework him in your own imagination and believe in what you've done. And he will conform to it. So you don't discard anyone as something that cannot be remedied, that cannot be made right in this world. You make him right in your own mind's eye. For the potter is your own wonderful human imagination. And any vessel you hold, whether it be a man or yourself, see that it is lovely, that you are actually the man that you want to be, that those round about you there are what they would like to be, and have a nice vivid imagination of it, a clear idea of what you really want in this world, and a determinate vision of things as they ought to be, and have them all fixed in your own mind's eye, and believe it. Then in a way that no one knows, they will all come to pass.
All right, guys, now that we finished the video, I'm going to tell you how to live in the wish fulfilled, okay? This is a very, very important way to do it. after you visualize, okay? So what you do is you go to yourself and you say, I feel that it's wonderful that I'm now rich. I feel now that it's wonderful that I'm in this committed relationship. And the key word is say, I feel this, whatever this is. And when you say it like that, it'll make you be in that state. I guarantee it. Try it. Try it with a relationship. Try it with money. Try it with a career. Try it with a job. Try it with being more confident. Try it with being successful. I feel it's wonderful now that I'm successful. I feel now it's wonderful that I'm successful. And that's going to generate this feeling state inside of you, which will make you live in that state so you can walk in that state. That's the secret. That's the technique. So I'm going to leave a description for a video on how to do that, how many times to do it a day. I'm going to leave it right here with the card, or I'm going to also leave it below. So be looking for that video. That'll be the next video in this series. But if you want to jump ahead to it right now, guys, I hope that you try this technique. I hope that you like the critique of Neville Goddard in this lecture. I hope that it enlightened you with these sense feelings and how to feel things so that you can bring those into your imagination, so you can try these different feeling sensations, touch, see, smell, touch, clear audio, clairvoyance, so you can hear things, feel things in your life. And let me know how that goes for you. Watch how Neville Goddard did it, and you can do it too, guys. Have a great day. I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.